Hello, this is Edith Newmeyer, and I'm the author of the book The Mystery of Adam. I wanted to redo my last video because my last video is kind of quiet and not very forceful. But then I thought, no, maybe the information is really good in the video, but maybe I need to make another video that is kind of building on my last video. Now, all the information in my last video about the end times is important. I was talking about Luke 21, 5 through 28, and Matthew 24. And I was saying that so many people just really mess up these verses. And they have been messing up these verses. And then other people build on it. Now, of course, this is exactly what is happening with this end time stuff. There are some Bible scholars, and it's very hard to trace them all the way back to the origin, that teach something wrong, and people think it is the truth, and then build on it. And even people that may be very good in some areas, for instance, I just listened a while ago. I listened to Paul Berkeley, and he has some very good information. However, he invited this Dr. Baxter and talking about the end times. And in that video, they talked about the two witnesses. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, you guys are just absolutely going wrong. Now, Berkeley, he just kind of agreed with Baxter, but Baxter was really wrong, okay, about the two witnesses. For instance, they started about this um, topic that I keep saying, people, wake up, wake up, wake up. And that is about the Antichrist. I have said so many times in my videos that this idea that the Antichrist is one man that is coming sometime in the end is just absolutely incorrect. When we look at the Antichrist, and I have said that so many times, people believe that this beast out of the sea is the Antichrist. Okay? Matter of fact, some say it's the beast out of the earth, but it is not. Okay, it's the beast out of the sea that is what people call the Antichrist. But it is wrong when we say Antichrist because most people think, oh, it is one man, because that's what we have been hearing from Bible scholars. Now, these Bible scholars, they all build on old um, theories, I guess. Okay, at the beginning, and it's very hard to say who did it. At the beginning, there was maybe one guy that started with this false teaching that this Antichrist, okay, I don't know who came up with this Antichrist thing, that this Antichrist is this world ruler that comes, at the end. And I'm saying, no, that is not correct. It's not one world ruler that comes at the end of this world government, because that's what they're saying. This is what I believe. Okay, now again, I'm using that word believe. But when we look at Revelations, and we can only look at Revelations, actually, we can look at Revelation and Paul's teaching. Now, Revelation is from John. Okay, Paul, John, and Jesus talked about the man of perdition or the man of lawlessness. Doesn't matter what word you use, it's the same guy. And that's the words they use: the man of lawlessness, the man of perdition. Yes, they are using man. Okay. Oh, Daniel is another one. Okay. They are using man. But when we go to Revelations and we look at this man of lawlessness, which is a man or the beast out of the sea, we know that this is called a beast. And when we go back to Daniel, we know that the beasts are not one man. The beast is a system. It is a an empire. I'm going to use the word empire because that's exactly what it is. Or it is a type of empire. Okay? So it's not just one world ruler at the end, but it's a system that's been going on for a long time. And we cannot say, because we believe we're living in the end times, and that's maybe where it's the only point where we actually agree, where I agree with Paul Berkeley as well. We're living in the end times. We are close to the rapture, and there's no doubt. However, this beast has been around. Okay, both beasts, the beast out of the sea, the beast out of the earth, has been around for a long time. Why? Because the beast out of the sea is the papacy. Now, these false teachers are pointing to this Antichrist, okay, which the Pope is. If you want to call him the Antichrist, fine. But you know what? If you want to be theologically correct, you cannot use a word that somebody made up, like the Antichrist. They found it in the letters of John. John was talking about the Antichrist coming, and there are many Antichrists. And then they pick this word up and they make their own little story about it, and that creates confusion. So, and they all do it. It's like everybody picks up on this Antichrist. Everybody picks up this one world ruler. Wrong. It is not one world ruler. It may accumulate or culminate into this one world ruler that at the end is left over when Jesus is returning. But it is the system, it is the whole system. So the beast out of the sea is the papacy. People, when you read the description, you can see very clearly that it is the papacy. I mean, there is no doubt in the mind who persecuted and who killed the saints. It can only be the papacy. The United States never persecuted and killed the Christians. They didn't martyr the Christians. They don't have the blood of the saints on their hands. Okay? I mean, they're bad enough as it is because they're supporting this beast out of the sea, but it is the beast out of the sea that has the blood of the saints on their hands, and that is absolutely the papacy. If you do some research on what the papacy did, Catholicism, the Catholic Church during the Dark Ages, and how many saints, okay, true believers they killed, you will open up your eyes wide and say, yep. And see, the papacy came out of the Roman Empire. It's an extension of the Roman Empire. And the Roman Empire did the very same thing. They killed, they martyred the saints. And then the Catholic Church, papacy, continued to martyr the true believers. So it is a system. Remember in Daniel, this is this guy that is made up of different parts, and each part is a metal, described through a metal. okay, until we get to the legs out of iron, okay, the legs out of iron. That is the Roman Empire, okay. Why? Because the Roman Empire split into two, the northern and the southern part, okay. So then these two legs, they turn into feet, and the feet are iron mixed with clay. So iron is the same thing as the Roman Empire mixed with clay, okay? And that is, the iron is a world system, the clay is a religious system. And so they are mixed together, and that's why they are brittle. They're not very sturdy, okay? They're not very sturdy. They're not very powerful, but yet powerful, okay? The Roman Catholic Church is powerful, but not as powerful as, for instance, an empire. So that's what Daniel saw, and that's exactly what we have with now the papacy. The papacy has been around for 2,000 years. And yes, it's not comparable between the legs and the foot, because the Roman, I don't know how long the Roman Empire had been around. But the fact is that the Roman Empire leads exactly into the foot, which is not the Roman Empire anymore, which is a different entity, a different empire. But that empire is part or came out of the Roman Empire. Okay, so that's why we can say that this beast that then John addressed in Revelation, the beast out of the sea, is exactly that Roman empire that turned into the papacy. Now, there's also a beast out of the earth, and people get confused because they say that's the false prophet. And when we think about false prophet or prophet, we think about religion. But in reality, a prophet is somebody who prophesies about somebody or something. If he's the prophet of the beast out of the sea, if he's supporting the beast out of the sea, then he is the prophet of the beast out of the sea. Okay? In other words, he now worships the beast out of the sea. He supports the beast out of the sea. Okay? So we need to stop being too confused here. He's not the prophet of God. Of course not. And so it's different. He's the prophet of the beast out of the sea. So he supports the beast out of the sea. And I believe that beast out of the earth is the United States. Okay? It is the United States. The United States that has supported Catholicism, has supported the Roman Catholic Church. And that is hard for us to believe simply because we don't see it outward. Okay, but we know that Jesuits are all over the government. We know that our leading politicians were educated in Catholic churches, Catholic schools, including the president we have today. Trump was educated in a Catholic academy, I believe. So there's nothing wrong to know that this system, this beast out of the earth system, is the United States. And if it is the United States, all presidents are prophets of this beast out of the sea. They all glorify, they all support this beast out of the sea, which is papacy. And we've seen this and seen this and seen this. The president's going to the Pope, kissing, bowing down, and kissing the hand of the Pope. So, in other words, they are supporting and glorifying the Pope. Matter of fact, everybody in this whole world is doing that. I have done many videos, but it just drives me nuts every time I listen to somebody. Um, I I listened to one called Blackstone Intelligence. I think that's what it's Blackstone. I think it's called Intelligence. And the guy that does the video is great. His name is Jake Morphonius. I listen to him quite a lot. He has some excellent information. But he did one section on the Antichrist and the third temple. And I'm thinking, he just regurgitated exactly what other people are saying. And I'm amazed how many people are teaching the wrong thing. They're not sticking to Bible truth. And I'm just so upset about that because these people are misleading um, Christians, misleading people of the people of God. But again, if you if you're listening to these false teachers and are not doing your own research, then I guess you have to just be stuck in misinformation. Now, does it matter what we believe about the end times? You know what? If we're confused and if we're misled in one little thing, we're going to be misled in other things. That's just the way it is. If you're not listening to the Holy Spirit and let the Holy Spirit guide you in everything, you can be misled in everything else too. That's just my belief. That was my intent of my last video. And I showed in my last video very clearly that when people look at the end times, they're confused. They're very confused. Okay? They go by a few people and they never ever question or research things. Okay? And then the information is out there and people say it and believe it and tell other people and they're told the wrong. And what it is they're doing is they're telling false teachings. Like I said the last time, my last video, Jesus talked about the destruction of the second temple, not the third temple. Okay? We saw in Luke 21 that the end times was not even discussed until 25, verse 25. Everything before that is about the time of the disciples. Okay? It says in 24, until the times of the Gentiles are fulfilled, which is our time, the time we're living in today. And then in 25, there will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. Okay? Now, these signs have been around all along. It's not like these signs are happening just right now. No, these have been around. I believe that is even said before. And I don't see it right now because it's almost like this is what God always uses is, hey, watch the signs in the sky. Okay, watch the sign. Oh, here. Then he said, the nations will rise. Oh, no, that's the nation. There will be great earthquakes, famines, pestilence in various places. Okay, and events and great signs from heaven. See, great signs from heaven. These great signs from heaven, these earthquakes, pestilence, they have been around. Okay, they have been around. Now, I have to admit, these earthquakes right now are just rampant. They are more and more. They're becoming numerous, more numerous. But the earthquakes have been around um, during Jesus' time. Okay, during the disciples' time. I visited Turkey in these, I think it's called Heraklion, in some other places in Turkey. Ephesus, okay? I have visited these cities, these old cities, and they were all destroyed by earthquakes. I mean, there's not one stone on top of the other because of earthquakes. Okay, they rebuilt, but many of them um, are not existing anymore. They haven't even been dug out. And I was just thinking about one of the cities near Heraklion, that was mentioned. It was one of the seven cities that were mentioned, or seven churches that were mentioned in Revelations, and they have not fully dug that town out. It's gone, okay, and it is caused by earthquakes. So these earthquakes happened during the time of the disciples when they wrote the letters, and when John wrote Revelation. Earthquakes happen, okay? So it's not like, oh my goodness, we're going to have to wait until the end, until the famines happen, or the earthquake and the pestilence. Do you know how many pestilence happened in this world in these 2,000 years? I mean, there was one pestilence, the Black Death in Europe, that killed most of the people, probably 2/3 of the people. There was lots of pestilence and um, wars in Europe. Can you imagine a 30-year war? The war was 30 years. It killed most of the people, and that was around the time of Luther, or after Luther, the 30-year war. Okay, during Luther, one of his children died of a pestilence, what they call a pestilence. Okay, it was caused by uh, I think fleas or lice. I think fleas, that just were rampant. I mean, those, what was it? Typhoid? It wasn't the typhoid. Um, it was another one. I think it was the Black Death. But these have been around, and people are just so stuck. They don't know anything about history. They don't know nothing, and then they make up these stories and they tell everybody. I can't reach very many people. Unfortunately, nobody listens, or I shouldn't say nobody, because obviously you're listening to this, but very few people are listening to my videos, which is pretty sad. And then there's people like Paul Berkeley that have thousands of listeners, thousands. And I want to ask, why in the world are these people getting listeners and I don't? People are not flocking to me. It's just amazing to me, that people always flock to the wrong people. Now, I know I'm not necessarily, 100%, correct. But I'm trying to say, listen, you need to look at this information yourself. I'm trying to shake people up and say, you need to listen to it. You need to let the Holy Spirit guide you. When it says here, um, until the time of Gentiles is fulfilled in 2024, and that is Luke 21:24, then you know this is not about the end times. Yet they quote it as the end times. Paul Berkeley, he quotes us all the time. There's uh, pestilence and stuff in various places, earthquakes in various places. He brings that out all the time. Here, this one, he brings it out. Nations will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. There will be great earthquakes, famines, pestilence in various places, and fearful events, and great signs from heaven. Do you know that this has been happening since the time of Jesus? Probably even before Jesus. Okay? This is not a sign of the end. This is not a sign of the end. This is a sign just to wake up and see, hey, these things will happen. Okay, these things will happen. So keep your eyes, keep watch, because they will happen. Doesn't mean, the end is near. Okay, so anyway, so 25 is where the end time starts. It says there will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. Okay, but there are signs, have been signs for 6,000 years. But we still need to watch. And that's what he was trying to say. Watch, 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 watch. Okay, and be careful. Be careful about the false teachers, because they want to mislead you. And can they mislead you? Yes, they can. Okay, when they say he is there, do not go there. Okay, do not go there. Again, I'm seeing people saying rapture, rapture, rapture is happening. No, the rapture is not going to happen until next year. Next year, that rapture is not going to happen. Now, many things can happen. Many things can happen until next year. Okay, our economy can collapse. Our financial system can collapse. There's no doubt in my mind. Again, there could be earthquakes, very strong earthquakes, because right now the world is preparing for the what we call the wrath of God. So the world is preparing right now, and not just the world, but our system, our whole solar system, our whole universe is preparing right now for the wrath of God. It's not going to just happen like that. We are already seeing that the earth is preparing. Our weather is totally messed up. And yes, weather probably had been changing again for 6,000 years. I understand that. But right now, the weather is going pretty nuts. And we're living in the end times. So we can say, well, maybe the weather is starting to gear up for a big one. Let's say for a big one. Okay. Again, I already mentioned the earthquakes. The earthquakes are gearing up. We're having more and more earthquakes. And so I really think that can happen as well, that maybe there's going to be a really big one. And so many things are gearing up. And I think people know that. The elite, the upper people that have all the information, they know something is coming. And they're preparing as well, except the dumb ones are not preparing. Well, those are the only ones that are not preparing. Now, I know we don't have to be afraid. Okay, I don't want anybody to be afraid, because we don't have to be afraid. And I'm not taking the easy way out and saying, well, I'm going to be raptured, even though that's truth. I know I will be raptured. God is not putting us through the wrath. We have no need for the wrath. The wrath is for the unbelievers, the ones that have rejected Jesus, that have rejected God, that have been persecuting the saints. That's what the wrath of God is for. The wrath of God is not for believers. That does not make sense. Okay? Anybody with a little bitty brain left should know that God is not pouring out wrath on the unbelievers, on the believers. Just like the flood did not come upon the righteous, which was Noah and his family. Okay, the wrath of God came on all the other people, the unbelievers, not the righteous. God brought Noah through the flood. Okay, he didn't have Noah killed. And yes, God could do the same thing now with the church. He could bring the church miraculously through the wrath. However, we have already been told that we are going to be raptured. We have already been told that Jesus is coming for his bride. And that will not be at the end. This Dr. Baxter that I just mentioned a while ago, he believes that the rapture happens at the end. At the time the two witnesses are being taken up, that's when he believes the resurrection will happen. And that is not correct either. Okay? That is not correct. We will be gone when the two witnesses are on the scene. We will be gone. The church is not needed anymore. The church will be gone. Right now, we are the witnesses. We are the witnesses for the world. And when we are gone, the two witnesses will come. And especially, they will witness not only to the Jews, but also the Gentiles. They will witness during the wrath of God. And that is definitely true. They will be witnessing during the wrath of God. And a remnant will believe, but it will not be a huge revival. This Dr. Baxter and Berkeley said, oh, it will be a great revival. No, it will not be a great revival. Most people will not follow the guy. They will be happy to kill him. Okay? And only a remnant will realize what they are saying and will come to God. So I want to finish up today, and I wanted to just add this. I want to really warn people from these false teachers. When these teachers are not showing you verses, that's the first sign that you know that something is wrong. Okay? When they don't show you verses. When they show you verses, you need to read them yourself, pray about it, and let the Holy Spirit guide you. And if you don't understand it, don't believe the people. Believe God and trust God that eventually He will open your eyes. If God is not opening your eyes, then you shouldn't believe it. You should just leave it. Okay, that's what I have done for many years as well. I have listened to many people, but I never made up my mind until Jesus or the Holy Spirit showed me. I have read the Revelations many times, and until the Holy Spirit opened my eyes. Now, I still don't know 100% everything, for sure not, okay? But when I read something, it better make sense, okay? You need to use your brain as well. So I will finish up today. And yes, read these verses. Go to Revelations, and that's what I started with, Revelations 11 with the two witnesses. Okay, and again, make sure you understand. See, there's another thing that I'm just looking at Revelations. He was saying these two witnesses were there during the seventh trumpet. And right now, I can tell you right now, if you read 11, you will see that the seventh trumpet came after the two witnesses. Okay, after. So in other words, the seventh trumpet was started after the earthquake, and that's in 11:13. So read this whole thing, and I don't want to go into detail right now. Maybe I will do that next video, because I'm running out of time right now, and I want to keep these videos to 30 minutes, and then I would be going. In fact, my next one will be on that. That would be a good one. But read the verses, read again Luke and Matthew, and really think about these things. I'm just, again, so amazed why there's so many false teachers out there, and I just want to warn people. So Do your research. Let the Holy Spirit guide you.